On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1960. We're going to be taking a look at the Lennon Sisters, and they're going to be performing Do Re Mi. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, I know that we have taken a look at the Lennon Sisters relatively recently on the channel, but we had to take a look at this one because we have Mimi in the performance, and in this year, 1960, she was born in 1955. So, it would mean that she was at most 5 years of age, most likely 4 years of age during this performance. Now, if you haven't checked out the previous video that I did on the Lennon Sisters, make sure that you do check that out because it means you'll be able to watch this video just listening out for the different techniques and the things that I pointed out in that video, such as the sliding in unison to the destination note, that they're all reaching at exactly the same time, synchronizing their vibrato, all of these different things. But watch that other video for more detail of that, because obviously we're going to be taking a look at this performance and let's see how they get on.
A deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself, far, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread, la, a note to follow, so, tea, a drink with jam and bread, that will bring us back to do, oh, 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 do.
A deer, a female deer,
Ray,
a drop of golden sun.
Me,
A name I call myself,
fa,
a long, long way to run.
so,
A needle pulling thread,
la,
a note to follow, so,
tea,
a drink with jam and bread.
that will bring us back to do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, la, so, fa, mi, re,
Do,
a deer, a female deer,
Ray,
a drop of golden sun,
me,
a name I call myself,
fa,
a long, long way to run,
so,
a needle pulling thread,
la,
a note to follow, so,
tea,
a drink with jam and bread, that will bring us back to do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
so, do.
And there we have it. So in this performance, obviously I've run the vocals through the pitch monitoring software, and we do have multiple voices, so it does struggle to hear things and pick them out throughout the performance. But when listening to this, obviously Mimi's very young, only 4 or 5 years of age, and I have said in other videos about very young performers about the ethical question of, you know, putting them in front of a lot of people and they're not old enough to make that decision on their own. But I think in this case, because it's a family thing and she's got her sisters, it's more of an environment that she might feel comfortable in, or at least more comfortable in. You can tell that she's kind of looking around a little bit nervous and not really used to doing this kind of thing. But the one thing that I will say about this performance is that, considering the fact that Mimi is only 4 or 5 years of age here, her appreciation of, not that she would have an appreciation, that she wouldn't be thinking of it like that, but her accuracy and understanding of sound and pitch and where things are is second to none. I haven't seen a singer of this age, it feels silly to call her a singer at that age, but I haven't heard a child of this age hit pitches as accurately as this. Something that I have to mention about this is that I have been sent videos of very young singers, maybe in and around the same age as Mimi, and people have emailed me saying, oh, check out this kid, you know, they're so good and so accurate with their singing. But every video I've seen has been pitch corrected. So they've recorded the child singing as best they can, which wouldn't have been on the lines of 440 hertz tuning all the time, and then it's been pitch corrected. But people sending me the videos obviously don't realize that it's not the child's original voice. It has been pitch corrected to make it sound more impressive, or to make it look more impressive because the child is so young. But because this is 1960, this is totally unedited, and it's just how they did it back then. They just stood there and sang, and that's all there was. There was just a boom mic over the top. This is another thing that people say, that they can't see a microphone anywhere, so it must be mimed and all this kind of stuff. But they had boom mics. So this is actually a really good example of why every shot that you'll see from TV shows is like this, or was like this, so that you only ever see the top of the singer's head and not a lot above that, because there'll be a microphone that's hanging above them. It's picking up the sound. When you watch performances, now that you know that, you'll be able to see these very tight shots, so that back in, the 1960s, I know that there were a lot of mimed performances, but they really do stand out because the sound is obviously the record. Whereas when you're hearing a live vocal or a live band, I mean, it is night and day when you're used to listening to it, and especially when you're used to analysing performances in a lot of detail. So this is absolutely live. I mean, you can't get a 4 or a 5-year-old to mime, but it shows you that she is already locked in to pitch, even though she wouldn't have studied it or practice doing it. It's a language. Music is a language, and she's just learning the language of where the notes are, and her voice is remembering where the notes are, i.e. her vocal cords are remembering the position that they're in to get particular notes, in exactly the same way that once we've learnt a word, we've memorized the way to shape our mouth and tongue and airflow across the vocal cords to say the same word exactly the same way each time. It's the same with singing. So once you've got used to your intervals and you can start getting notes and hit them more accurately, your vocal cords and your muscle memory, it stores all of that. So then you can start to access it, and you can start to access these notes reliably because you've done it before. We'll go back to the beginning and now listen to it with a more analytical ear.
A deer, a female deer, race a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself, far, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread, lost, a note to follow, so tea, a drink with jam and bread, that will bring us back to dust. Oh, 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 do.
A deer, a female deer.
And first of all, when getting anywhere close to this at this age is massively impressive, let alone being sharp of the B4 and then pretty much being bang on and then pretty much bang on again, just a little bit flat. But we're talking about a kid. I mean, when we're listening to the Lennon Sisters perform together, you even start to appreciate their vocal onset, the way that they don't go straight into a note. They just have a smooth blend. But I'm going to take it back just so I can demonstrate what I'm talking about.
Deer, a female deer, race a drop of golden sun.
There on sun, we have this. It goes from nothing, and then gets louder, but they're all doing this at the same time with obviously their independent notes because they're singing in harmony, but it's coming from nothing, So they're all starting from nothing and blending in their voices collectively at exactly the same speed. So, I mean, it's just massively impressive on so many levels, this performance. But especially when we look at Mimi's voice and the way that she's just nailing notes at such a young age.
Traffic golden sun.
I'll take it back because we just missed a little bit there.
That will bring us back to do, oh, 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 do.
A do, a female do.
Race,
A traffic golden sun.
I mean, look at that D sharp 4. This is the kind of thing that you would see adult singers doing, and even here I'd say, you know, that was really accurate, just right between the eyes, that D sharp 4, but this is Mimi singing it.
me,
A name I call myself.
And now look at that. I mean, it's just so good. The F4, absolutely bang on, slightly flat of the F4 here and slightly flat again, but not so that it sounds out of tune. And this is the point, that she is, you know, sounding great to the ear. And considering that this isn't manipulated in any way, that she's actually doing this, it's just so impressive. And I mean, looking at this still, I mean, she's got a very cute face, and I mean, when they say that your eyes don't grow, but obviously the rest of your face and your body does as you age, you certainly get that impression with Mimi's face, because yeah, she's just got these huge eyes. But let's listen on.
A long, long way to run.
There was even a little bit of way to run. She did a slide, and we can see that. So she's already starting to copy what she's hearing her sisters do. Even stylistically, these tiny details, this is all totally natural, and this is a great video to show you what the brain can do. It takes in sound and music as a language. So when it hears it spoken a particular way, in exactly the same way that when a child learns to talk, they have the accent of their parents. They haven't learned to put on that accent. It's just going to form the words because that's how they've, you know, heard it, and that's exactly what they're copying. So in this case, it's exactly the same thing, that she's now automatically starting to, you know, apply a glissando slide to her notes, because it's just going in there as a language, and this is just how her brain understands that you speak this language. So we'll jump into it again, and I think in this bit she's looking at her sisters and then suddenly remembers that she's still got to sing, but I mean, very professionally, just get straight in there.
so,
A needle pulling thread.
lost,
A note to follow, so.
Again, look at this A4 and this run that we have up. She's not just singing straight notes here, we get a little run and the perfect A4 at the end of it.
tea,
A drink with jam and bread.
that will bring us back to do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, la, so.
And just to mention, by the way, look at this on the pitch monitoring software. I know that we've now got this key change and they're singing this major scale, and by the way, that's what the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale is. It's just the major scale, and I've said in other videos about when you start labeling each note with a number, then you start to understand a little bit about how the theory works of singing your first note and then go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And by the time you get to here, the 8th note, it's a repeat of the first note, but you've gone up an octave. That's what it's called. So every note that they're singing is one of these notes, and they all have their own word. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So whichever of these notes of the melody they're singing, it will be the word that's associated with the number. So if you can remember that little tune, or the major scale as it is, and then attribute a number to each of the words or the notes as you go up, then things might start to make a little bit more sense. When I'm talking about the 5th, for example, you'll know exactly which note I'm talking about when describing something in an analysis video, or when I'm demonstrating chords on the guitar, I say a root note, a fifth, and then an octave. When I'm talking about, you know, power chords and all that kind of stuff, then you start to understand, oh, it's that note that he's talking about. And the root note is the first note. That's always what is referred to, the root of your chord. And that, therefore, will give you the key. Not that I want to get too complicated, but when you're then talking about sharps and flats, if you've got your notes that we've just taken, when I sometimes say a flat 5, it means you go to the 5th note and you play 1 note less, which would be a flat. When you go lower, it's called a flat. When you go higher, it's called sharp. So this is why when I'm pointing out on here and I say it's slightly flat or slightly sharp, I'm talking about slightly flat below, slightly sharp above. And that's all it means. Let's get back into it.
For me, so for me, radio. A deer, a female deer.
Rain,
A drop of golden sun.
me,
A name I call myself.
for,
A long, long way to run.
so,
A needle pulling thread.
rock,
A note to follow so.
tea,
A drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, so, la. Ti, do.
so, do.
And then we have it again. I think the video cuts out quite quickly at the end, but again, looking at this collectively, the girls singing this together, all of the notes that they're hitting on the way down the scale, all the way back up again. And even though there are a lot of voices here, the pitch monitoring software is still picking up the intervals and how accurate they are when they're singing together. And I just want to take it back because I think you can just hear Mimi kind of humming along, even though it's not a section where she's supposed to sing, she's just humming along with the melody.
So,
A needle pulling thread.
rock,
A note to follow so.
tea,
A drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do, ti.
So it was there. I mean, it's really subtle, but she is just singing along there. Yeah, I'll play it again. Not that you'll necessarily be able to pick it out particularly clearly.
That will bring us back.
You can hear that going on. But again, it shows that she's following this language, this sound, just naturally. And she isn't being given a part here where she's singing with her sisters all the time. She's just coming in for these tiny little sections and then being quite quiet, even though you can see all the time that she is kind of singing along very quietly in her own way, but can't help but follow that melody while humming at the end. So, I mean, it's a great video to take a look at because not only does it show what humans are capable of, or at least, you know, humans that are within a very musical family and are hearing this language of music from day one when they're born, and by the age of 4 or 5, they've already got great pitch, being able to find notes and just know where they are automatically, and even humming along at the end. It's a great one to look at as well because of that fact that I mentioned earlier, where you can't really see this nowadays without the grown-ups pitch correcting it to try and make it sound better than it was when it was recorded, because that's happening all the time. Even adults are pitch correcting themselves, let alone allowing, you know, a kid's vocal to go through untouched. They won't let their own vocal go through untouched. We just get to enjoy it, and if anything, enjoy it even more because nothing's been done to it. It's just what it was, and it's just absolutely top level singing across the board. That includes Mimi. So thank you guys for sending me this video and requesting an analysis on it. As always, let me know what you guys think and keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!